Welcome to today's edition of the ANAGLYPH Jukebox. You never know what you'll find on the old jukebox. Let's press B31. Okay, we've got Paul Chadwick's Salimba in 3D. If you've been paying attention, you'll know the ANAGLYPH Jukebox loves those 3D jungle girls. Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, was the first and arguably the best. But an early project by comics creator Paul Chadwick, in fact his first commercial comic work, was a 2-issue 3D series written by animation writer Steve Perry called Salimba and published in August and September of 1986. Both issues and covers were penciled by Chadwick, inked by Tom Palmer and Bruce Patterson, and lettered by Bill Spicer. The front and back covers of each issue together form one panoramic image. Salimba was originally supposed to appear as 10-page installments in an anthology called Pacific Presents. Before ink could hit paper, Pacific Comics went out of business. Its former publisher, Steve Shanes, started a new imprint called Blackthorn Publishing that would go on to print many 3D comics in the 1980s. Most of Blackthorn's conversions, like the one for Salimba, were done by the late, great Ray Zone. You are missed, Ray. So, Salimba is a curious combination, an original story and a one-off, multi-issue 3D comic. Salimba battles immortal pirates, bizarre monsters, and zombie apes in the grand Jungle Girl tradition. And, as you can see from these images, it was clear a major new talent had entered the field, Paul Chadwick. Chadwick was born in Seattle and raised in a nearby suburb. As a teenager, he participated in APA 5, an amateur press alliance of comics fans, which he credits as being hugely influential in his development as an artist. These amateur press groups were far from new. They existed in the 1920s and 1930s to serve budding science fiction and horror writers like the Jukebox's favorite children's author, H.P. Lovecraft. After graduating from the Art Center College of Design in Pasadena in 1979 with an illustration major, Chadwick began his career creating storyboards for Disney, Warner Brothers, Lucasfilm, and others. He contributed to such films as Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Strange Brew, The Big Easy, and Ewoks, The Battle for Endor. He did work for Marvel Comics on Dazzler, Deadpool, and Doctor Strange. In the same year Salimba was published, 1986, he created Concrete, his most well-known character. The first Concrete story was published by Dark Horse Comics in Dark Horse Presents No. 1, July 1986. It attracted immediate fan and industry attention, and soon Concrete was appearing in his own monthly book. 3 years later, Chadwick won the Eisner Award for Best Writer Artist, 1989. Concrete is actually political speechwriter Ron Lithgow, whose brain had been transplanted by aliens into a hulking artificial body when he came across them on a camping trip. The aliens appear only once, in issue 3, as Ron relates his backstory. They're never seen in the series again. Concrete stories are very much based in reality. Aside from a nearly indestructible body, all the normal rules of physics and logic apply here. There's a strong supporting cast of characters, and the theme of nature and man's place in the natural world is frequently visited throughout the series. There are 7 volumes of Concrete stories, along with several variant editions. The Jukebox gives them its highest recommendation. After the great success of Concrete, Salimba was later collected as a regular, flat, black and white graphic novel. But for the relatively few comics buyers of those original 2 issues in 3D back in 1986, Paul Chadwick's Salimba was a nod to the great jungle girls of the past, with a clean, precise line and a depth that few comic book heroines ever achieve.
On Saturday, October 2nd, 2021, Dave Camo and Johnny Laser, heretofore known as the NYSA Live Remote Team, met up with the cast and crew of the 3D movie Leda for the big screen 3D premiere at the Midway Theater in Forest Hills, New York. On the left is Samuel Tressler IV, writer and director, and that's the co-writer Wesley Pasterfield. And here's NYSA members Max Clark in the middle and Carlton Bright being interviewed by none other than yours truly, Johnny Laser. Here are some of the cast and crew who you'll hear from in a moment. Now, please keep in mind our initial intention was going live for a few minutes and heading off on our separate ways. Several factors changed those details, and we came up with an alternative plan in about 5 minutes, and you're seeing the results of that.
Oh, it's in 3D?
And tell me how it felt to actually see it on a big screen finally.
It's the first time I saw it in 3D, so that was pretty exciting. I don't know, it's kind of hard to watch your work when you've been so deep in it for so many years, so I'm not really sure what to think yet, but give me a few days and get back to me.
Does this jacket make my behind look fat?
A little bit.
Just one. Oh, you see? Thanks, Roy. How did you learn about 3D?
So Nick literally handed me a textbook and said, "I don't really know anything about 3D. You're gonna learn, and if you do this, you got the job, kid." And I read the book. I did a lot of research. In the beginning, it was trial and error.
It's good. It's good.
You're good. Yeah. So in the beginning, we had one 3D rig that was pretty dysfunctional. We ended up taking the parts of that design that we liked. We talked to a CNC machinist, and we literally fabricated a new, better design.
Your name again?
Spence Grunler.
Spence.
I think Sam and I have been friends for a while, and I knew he wanted to kind of get out of doing like short film stuff. He wanted to make a feature, and it just seemed like he was, ideas weren't really kind of coming. So I just was like, hey, I was in this show. It was all about Greek myths and stuff. I was like, what about this? And it just, we kind of took it and just ran with it. And
Seemed like a good idea.
yeah, it seemed like a great idea. 8 pages later, and we were ready to go.
And you end up making a classic.
Well,
Because it really is.
I'm super proud of it, and the work that everybody did on it is.
All right. Well, you know what? We have one that was really exciting, seeing the premiere of a new 3D movie. That's always good news. I'm going to just show a couple of slides. We had a gallery. All right, let's see if I can get my screen share going. We had a gallery submission subject, which was, what did you do on your summer vacation? Is everyone seeing this? Is that up now? I'm going to assume it is.
Yep, looks good.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So anyway, what I got to do on my summer vacation, we've talked a bit about, especially looking at the Betty Page slides that we've all enjoyed watching a couple times. Joe has shared some great Betty Page images about the tradition of the camera clubs that would shoot pinups back in the 50s. And I don't think a lot of people realize that this tradition still continues to this day. Throughout the country, there are a couple of pinup clubs where basically photographers will band together and bring in a few models and just practice the art of the 1950s style pinup, the sort of subtle glamour imagery. And so we got to do a few shoots this summer. And so I'm just going to show a couple of pictures from them. This first one, this is a model named Purse Fanny. And this was at Central Park. We did this shoot. And this is one of these mosaics. The bottom image pair on the right is cross-eyed. The top is parallel. And this I shot with a pair of Samsung NX1000s. The Central Park was just quite a perfect place for this sort of imagery, and I was really happy to be able to get something like this in 3D. I think it works well. Another shoot that we did, I'm going to try to advance to another image. We also did, and this is kind of a typical of the kitschy pinup club concept. This was a Tiki Bar Shoot. One of our club members actually has a Tiki Bar set up at home. This was a model named Gigi Surreal, and this one I shot with the Panasonic 3D1. And a great thing about the 3D1 is it has this very small interocular distance, so you can get away with this kind of close-up image. This shot we're looking at here would look pretty much pop your eyes out with a W3 or a more conventional stereo separation. We also did a shoot in Long Island at a beach. And one of the nice things about having a group of photographers together is you can get some help with lighting. This is a model named Katie Kells, and this was a close-up, and I was very fortunate to have someone holding a reflector bouncing some sunlight onto the shade in her face to get a little bit more of an even look. All right, and we did one more with Katie. And this is just sort of the classic 1950s pinup look. And the last shot I have was an experiment I did where I did a little bit of compositing. We did a shoot in March where we actually shot, as you can see, at a place that does hoop dancing and hoop, you know, this whole acrobatic theme. And so we didn't actually shoot this hanging over the Manhattan skyline. I had an image, a hyper image I'd taken with the 3D one, shifting it in Midtown Manhattan from a building. And it was very painstaking. It's very difficult to cut out an image when it's 3D. It's not so hard to mask out something if it's 2D, but it's not very forgiving when you're looking at a stereoscopic image. And I can still see some flaws, but I was pretty happy with how this came out. The image itself is a little surreal in that, you know, the background is a little bit more hyper than it would be in real life. The separation doesn't actually work, but I just like it. I like the feeling of having some depth in front and also having this little bit of surreal depth of the hyper city in the background. And anyway, that's all of them, and I'm going to turn it back over to Dave. I guess Johnny Lasers probably had to head out. Anyway, thanks for looking, and if anyone else has some summer vacation images, please bring them in. And I guess we're probably wrapping things up, right?
Sounds about right. Yeah, they're taking photos. Things are pretty much wrapping up. We're handing out the buttons at the moment. Here's a shot of Johnny passing out the buttons, if you can see them. A lot of mayhem out here in Queens. There's the rest of the theater if you want to see what's going on.
Wow, movie theater. I remember this.
Yeah. A bunch of that. People looking at things. There's Johnny pumping the flesh and the whatnot. Very good. Thanks for tuning in, folks.